Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasodanandana Radhajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Radhajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivana Dari Yasodanandana Radhajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Radhajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachariyati. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhujakacharya Asatosa Shishimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Ananda Gauda Vaishnava Ki Jai, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Prem Sikha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Shri Vrindavanam Ki Jai, Shri Maya Panavidam Ki Jai, Ganga Maya Ki Jai, Jamuna Maya Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Somaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Go Premanandi, all glorious some devotees, all glorious some devotees, all glorious some devotees, all glorious Shishi Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, this morning we're reading the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Chapter 12, text number 12. Harivan Evam Atmanam Manyate Nisham Ishwaram Bhutai Srijati Bhutani Gusate Tani Tai Swayam Avidvan Evam Atmanam Manyate Nisham Ishwaram Bhutai Srijati Bhutani Gusate Tani Tai Swayam Vidhan evam atmanam munyate nisham ishvaram bhutaya sujati bhutani grusate thani thai swayam vidhan evam atmanam munyate nisham ishvaram bhutaya sujati bhutani grusate thani thai swayam vidhan evam atmanam munyate nisham ishvaram sujati bhutani Ishvaram Munyate Ishvaram Bhutaya Sujati Bhutani Gusate Tani Tai Swayam Munyate Nisham Ishvaram Sujati Bhutani Gusate Tani Tai Swayam Avidvan evam atmanam Munyate nisham ishvaram Bhutaya sujati bhutani Gusate tani taisvaram Avidvan, one who is foolish, without knowledge. Evam, thus, atmanam, himself. Munyate, considers. Anisham, although totally dependent on others. Ishvaram, as the Supreme Controller. Independent. Bhutai, by the living entities. Sujati, he the Lord creates. Bhutani, other living entities. Grusate, he devours. Tani, them. Tai, by other living beings. Swayam, himself. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. A foolish, senseless person cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although always dependent, he falsely thinks himself the Supreme. If one thinks, quote, according to one's previous fruitive actions, one's material body is created by the father and mother, and the same body is annihilated by another agent as another animal is devoured by a tiger, unquote, this is not proper understanding. The Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself creates and devours the living beings through other living beings. Purport. According to the conclusion of the philosophy known as karma mimamsa, one's karma, or previous fruitive activity, is the cause of everything. And therefore there's no need to work. Those who arrive at this conclusion are foolish. When a father creates a child, he does not do so independently. He is induced to do so by the Supreme Lord, as the Lord himself says in Bhagavad Gita 5:15. Savasya chaham hridisana vistum matasmitur jnanam apohanam cha. I am in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. Unless one receives dictation from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who sits within everyone's heart, one cannot be induced to create anything. Therefore, the father and mother are not the creators of the living entity. According to the living entity's karma, fruitive activities, he is put into the semen of a father who injects the living entity into the womb of the mother. Then, according to the body of the mother and father, yathā-yoni, yathā-bījam, the living entity accepts a body and takes birth to suffer or enjoy. Therefore, the Supreme Lord is the original cause of one's birth. Similarly, the Supreme Lord is the cause of one's being killed. No one is independent. Everyone is dependent. The true conclusion is that the only independent person is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Jnana Tamanandasya Jnananjana Salakaya Chakshram Militam Jena Tasmai Sri Gurve Namaha Mukharam Kovtabhachalang Bhangun Nanghayate Grim Yat Kripataraham Bande Sigurum Dinataranam Vanchakapatiyabhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. I remember my brother, we were talking, and he said, I don't have to do anything. A little puffed up atheist, yeah.
How old was he when he said that?
This must have been maybe 20 years ago.
He's an adult.
Yeah. Yeah. He hasn't grown up yet. So I said, okay, then stop working, because you got to work to keep an apartment. Stop working. Don't go to the bathroom anymore. Don't eat anymore. Stop breathing. So many things we have to do. We're dependent. We're dependent. I was speaking to one Hindu gentleman the other day in the park. I was explaining the teachings of the Gita, and he said, "But I'm God." That's what I said too. I said, well, a lot of people don't understand the actual position of God. God, He creates universes, not just one. He creates many. When was the last time you created even one universe? I said, all right, good point. So I said, God, He's creating everything. But then he said, but isn't Brahma created? He knew a little bit. I said, Brahma is dependent on Krishna. Without Krishna's sanction, even Brahma, he can't create anything. We're dependent, completely dependent on Krishna. So this is the position of all living entities, that we're dependent on Krishna for whatever we want. Just like here in Pacific Beach, people are very enthusiastic to engage in sense gratification. But without Krishna's sanction, it doesn't happen. And therefore there's a lot of frustrated people here and all over the world, trying to enjoy their senses. But if the sanction isn't there, it doesn't happen. I remember Devita Prabhu telling me some years ago, he heard how there was a young man up in I think Santa Barbara area. He was trying to have a relationship with women, and it just wouldn't happen. They would reject him, and it happened so much that he became so frustrated. He just went around. He started shooting all the pretty women. Yeah, became so frustrated. So this is material world.
They're called incels.
Incels.
Involuntary celibates.
Involuntary celibates. They don't want to be. And one devotee, he sent this clip about many. It was a link of many emails about frustrated husbands whose wives wouldn't have sex with them, and sometimes it'd go for a year or 2 or 3 years, and you can imagine they're like climbing the wall. You're like, they're frustrated, very frustrating. And I was buying a van in Los Angeles for Sankirtan, and a couple of the salesmen, we were talking. I was there in my dhoti and kurta, and they asked me some questions about our philosophy. I said, well, and about our lifestyle. I said, well, I'm celibate, and they were like a little bit shocked, And I said that sometimes people lose such control of their senses that sometimes a man will even rape his wife. And one of them said, no, I would never do that. But the other one said, yeah, I've done it. It's called marriage rape. She doesn't want to do it, but he forces it. That's called marriage rape. There's date rape, there's marriage rape. And I even heard of one instance where the wife was forced into, she took him to court because her husband raped her. So, lose such control of the senses. So it's nice to voluntarily be celibate. And it's a nice life, Our happiness is from serving Krishna. Everybody's thinking, because they don't have Krishna, they're thinking that happiness is satisfying the senses. They don't have this knowledge. Therefore, we're giving the knowledge out. Got to give the knowledge out so that people understand that there's something much greater. So they try to get this sense gratification. They get frustrated and become attached. What does Krishna say? Dhyayato visyang pungsang sangaste supajayate sangat sanjayate kama kama krodho vijayate. While contemplating the objects of the senses, one develops attachment for them. From such attachment, lust develops. From lust, anger. From anger, delusion. From delusion, bewilderment of memory. When the memory is bewildered, the intelligence is lost. When the intelligence is lost, one falls down again into the material pool. But it all begins with that contemplation. So you got to check it. You got to check it. There's no happiness in material life. Prabhupada was giving class one time up in San Francisco, early days, in 1968. And Prabhupada said, you will not find happiness in the material world. And one of the devotees said, wow, thank God, I've been trying so hard and it's not here. So now, where do we leave? It's not here. That's why I'm not able to find it. It's not here. It's in spiritual life. It's in the spiritual world. So this is the message that Krishna's given us, that we will find happiness through service to Krishna. And this so-called happiness that we find here, hlada tapakari. Hlada tapakari. That whatever we try to enjoy in this world, that very thing we're trying to enjoy will be a cause of suffering. And we see it so much. It's like there's a devotee family up in Los Angeles. A lot of friends up there. And this lady, she had a son who, he grew up in Krishna consciousness, and he became a little attracted to the illusory energy. He got a girlfriend, and for many years they were dating, and then at one point she decided to end the relationship. And he tried to deal with it, go on with life. But he was so attached, he couldn't He couldn't live with it, that she had just left him. So he went late at night she had the key to the house. He was part of the family base. So he opened the door. Late at night, maybe midnight, something like that, went to her bedroom, woke her up, had a gun, put the gun to his head and said, "This is what you did to me," and killed himself in front of her. Can you imagine? Yeah. This is attachment, right? Material world. Become so attached. Better to become attached to Krishna. If we become attached to anything in this world, we're going to be frustrated. But if we become attached to Krishna, whoa, it's a whole other thing. This world is so much hankering and lamenting. Lots of hankering, lots of lamenting. So we're also hankering. We're hankering for service to Krishna. We're hankering to become a devotee. Na prema shravanadi bhakti apiva yogostava vaishnava jnana va subhakarma va kiyadahosa jati apyastiva. That I have no love for you, Krishna. Na prema shravan. I'm not even qualified to hear your glories. I'm not born in a good family. Basically, I have no good qualifications. But it is said that you give your mercy to those who are very fallen. And that understand is giving me great hope. That's giving me great hope that even I, who is so fallen, will receive your mercy. So we should have that hope that even though we're not qualified to receive this mercy of Krishna, love for Krishna, great hope that somehow Krishna will be kind upon me. And Krishna is very kind. This is the nature of Krishna. He is very kind. He's an ocean of mercy. So we should hanker for that and lament that still I haven't surrendered. Prabhupada said lamentation means purification. And sometimes even the gopis, they lament. It's like the pastime is there was a Rasa Leela. And the gopis were thinking themselves the most fortunate living entities in all the universe. They're dancing with Krishna. And Krishna sensed that, he disappeared. He disappeared from the rasa dance with one gopi, Radharani. So then they're looking for Krishna. And Krishna's there with Radharani. And she's so happy there to be with Krishna alone. And she said, "Krishna, you could take me wherever you want." And Krishna said, "Get on my shoulders and I'll take you." And then he disappeared. So now Radharani, she's lamenting also. So all the gopis and Radharani, they're all looking for Krishna. They're looking for Krishna. And Krishna thought, I'll play a trick on them. So he manifests the form of Vishnu. So the gopis are going through the forest looking for Krishna. And they see Vishnu and, "Oh, Namaskar, Lord Vishnu. Obeisances, paid obeisance. Have you seen Krishna?" "No, I haven't seen him." "Okay." They went on their way looking for Krishna. All the gopis just going right by Vishnu. Namaskar. Yeah. Just kept on going looking for Krishna. Until Radharani came. And Krishna couldn't play the trick anymore. Because Radharani has so much devotion, so much love for Krishna. She wants to please Krishna so much. He couldn't do it. He had to manifest his Krishna form again. 2 arms disappeared. He manifested his Krishna form again. So she has the highest devotion for Krishna. And these pastimes of Krishna, they attract us. You know, Krishna comes to perform as many wonderful pastimes to attract us. In the nectar devotion, there's different types of smiles and laughter. Hasita. There's smita, there's hasita, atihasita. There's actually 6, but I only remember 3. Smita. Smita means smile. So there's a pastime where Krishna, he had stole some yogurt from Jarati. And Jarati is chasing him. So he finds Balaram. Balaram, Jarati, she's chased me. I stole some yogurt. She's after me. And it's described that the sages in the heavenly planets, they smiled upon hearing this pastime. Now they're in the heavenly planets. Krishna's here on this planet. And they're able to envision this pastime, and they're smiling. Krishna here, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he's running from Jarati in fear that she's going to catch him. And in Hasita, there's a pastime where Krishna, he was near Jatila's home, and he said to the gopis, I'm going to play a little trick here. So he dressed like Abhimanyu, and he said to Jatila, Jatila, Mata, Krishna's coming. He's dressed like me. He's going to play a trick on you. I just want to let you know. So then Abhimanyu comes, and she says, I know you're Krishna playing a trick on me. And she starts beating him with a broom. And he says, no, Mata, I'm Abhimanyu, I'm your son, stop beating me. So that was Hasita. The gopis, they're watching this and they're laughing. They're seeing, their teeth are showing now, seeing this trick of Krishna. And Atihasita, this is the highest laughter, where Krishna, we got to remember it now. We got to remember it. Oh yes, Krishna told Jarati, Jarati, your skin is hanging, and you're so old. I've heard that the king of the monkeys, Balimukha, he wants to marry you. And she said to Krishna, Krishna, I understand that Balimukha, the king of the monkeys, he wants to marry me. I understand. But I've taken shelter of you. And anybody that takes shelter of you, you give your mercy. So I've decided to marry you instead. And when the gopis heard that, they were jumping up and down, clapping their hands and laughing. That was the highest, Atihasita, that's the highest laughter. So they experienced that. So there's a lot of humor. Krishna is known as Kautiki, which means Krishna has the best sense of humor. Everybody likes to laugh. It's like people, they go to comedy shows, and there's television, there's so many comedy shows. So Krishna, he's got the best sense of humor. So there's a lot of laughter going on in the spiritual world. It's a fun place. And the more that we connect to Krishna, then the more opportunity is there for us to go back. It's a party. Spiritual world, it's a party. It's a constant party, just going on unlimitedly. And at this party, no one has hangovers. Yeah. No one's frustrated. Everybody's happy, intoxicated with Krishna consciousness. So this verse is letting us know that if we engage in activities which are pleasing to Krishna, then we become satisfied. If we just try to satisfy our material senses, then there's going to be frustration. We have to satisfy the senses of Krishna. Try to understand who Krishna is and try to satisfy Krishna. This will satisfy the soul. Nothing else will satisfy the soul. Yesterday I met one nice person from Brazil. Nice lady. And as I was speaking to her, she said, you know, I'm an engineer. I make a lot of money, I have a nice home, I have a nice car, but I'm not happy. And I said, well, that's why we're talking. God has arranged for us to talk, and you can get this knowledge by which you'll become happy. And she was so happy to hear that. And she said, I believe that. I believe that. She came from Brazil to America just to try to find some happiness. So she succeeded. And she said she's definitely going to come to the temple. And she just knew from Brazil, doesn't have any friends here. And well, you come to the temple, you'll find many friends. Many people that are very interested in also advancing in spiritual life and Krishna consciousness. And I taught her the Hare Krishna mantra, and she was very excited. So, yeah, I wouldn't say that. But she took many books. Yeah, she got 3 books, gave a nice donation. So happy to, because she said, I'm completely into God. I want to know about God. Well, by Krishna's mercy, sometimes I'm pretty happy out there. And we're not independent. You know, Narada Muni, he says, devotees of the Lord do not think that the services they do are actions under their own control, but they're expressions of Krishna's supreme mercy. A very deep statement. And Narada Muni, I love Narada Muni. I'll repeat it just because it's so nice. Devotees of the Lord do not think the actions they do, the services they do are actions under their own control, but they are expressions of Krishna's supreme mercy. If we're able to do anything, it's Krishna's mercy. It's not our ability. It's Krishna's mercy. So we have to pray for Krishna's mercy, and He'll help us. It's like on book distribution. I do a lot of praying because it's not easy. You know, people they're not interested. They come here to forget God. But if Krishna, actually Prabhupada says in a purport that Krishna, upon seeing the sincere efforts of his devotees to spread Krishna consciousness, inspire people from within to take this knowledge. So this is, and Prabhupada, because Prabhupada had such an intense desire to spread Krishna consciousness, people were joining all over the place. It's like unbelievable. Therefore, that was the book called, the Hare Krishna Explosion. And people were joining all over the place. It's like, how did that happen? Prabhupada's desire. Prabhupada's desire. So, in a small way, we can also, in an intense, sincere way, pray to Krishna. Please, Krishna, help these people take books. Help them to come. There was the devotee Devi Shakti. She's our Queen Kunti of ISKCON. She would go on book distribution to distribute books, but mainly to make devotees. And she made so many devotees. She was praying. Yeah, Devaramita Swami, Chandamoli Swami also. Yeah. So desire. Everything goes on by desire. So we should desire to spread this Krishna consciousness. That's what is most needed. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the only lack in society is Krishna consciousness. It's the only lack. There's no other lack. And this is what is desired. People are hungry. They're not hungry so much for food, or maybe some people are hungry for food, but not very many. Yeah, actually, I was going to LA one time, and I had a sandwich. You know, that's what during the marathon we were making those sandwiches, and I saw this homeless guy, and I thought, let me just give it to him. Gave him a sandwich. You know, this is a good sandwich. I told the guy, man, this is a good sandwich. I'm giving you my lunch, man. He was real happy. But most people, they're hungry for happiness. I mean, no one would think this lady I saw yesterday was unhappy. I mean, she's a very attractive lady, you know, and very able-minded, you know, but she was unhappy. So many people out there, you know, as we heard, I think we heard yesterday, face is not the index to the mind. You can't tell. You know, just like this, what was that famous comedian that committed suicide? Robin Williams. Yeah, who would think? I mean, he's given so much happiness to people. He even said that, I give so much happiness to people, but I'm not happy myself. Yeah. It's interesting, he got books from Bhakti Rock. He was going through this person was going through, there was a festival going on, and this Bhakti Rock saw him coming, and he had some books, and he told this Robin Williams, tell me, what do you see? And he said, I see books, but that's not what you're going to tell me. He said, right, I have something that will give you the happiness of the soul. This will give you the goal of life. And he started preaching to him. He was very impressed by his teachings. And he said, well, how much? And he said, we're not businessmen. You get whatever you feel it's worth. He gave $50 for a few books, and you get Bhagavad Gita and Science of Self-Realization. So he got the mercy before. Unfortunately, he probably didn't read them. So, but I heard at his home he has he had a Ganesh, the Ganesh Murti there at his home. So he got the mercy. We want a lot of people get the mercy. Right? That's why throughout the world, hundreds of devotees are going out giving the message of Krishna to help them be happy. Okay, is there any question?
I have a question.
Yes, Maharaj.
Thanks. I'm just looking for the verse, and I changed. I switched my screen to something else. Does anyone have the verse there in the? It says how. Do you have the verse? Oh, the verse. Yeah, today's verse. English verse. Read the English verse. Oh, thanks. Oh, jeez. Hold on. No, hold on. We're cool. Yeah. If one thinks according to one's previous fruitive activities, one's material body is created by the father and mother, and the same body is annihilated by another agent or another animal, this is the improper understanding. But I thought, one could argue...
Oh, keep going.
Oh, sorry. Thanks, Prabhu. One could argue that, okay, fine, we don't control the material nature, we don't control time, we don't, I fully accept that, but my desire, because I have a particular desire, in fact it says, one gets a particular, set of senses and a body centered around the mind. It says that in Bhagavad Gita. So it seems to me that desire, that's the one thing we can do. That's the one thing we can control. And like dominoes, everything the first domino is our desire. Krishna is the sanctioning agent that allows our desire to be fulfilled. Sure, I can't even move my arm without Supersoul. But the desire is the symptom of the independence of the living entity. So how is it that, I don't have any control of my body or this? I got what I deserve because of my previous desires and actions.
Well, quite often we desire the wrong things.
Well, whatever, desiring right or desiring wrong, desire is the catalyst.
Yeah. So if we desire the wrong things, then quite often that turns out to sinful activity, whereas one gets a reaction, people go to hell and they do their suffering, and then because they have that desire, for instance, Prabhupada said the people that are surfing, he called them sufferers. Yeah, they want to swim in the ocean. Then yeah, their next life they'll be but it may take some time. It may take some time because there's committed so much sinful activity. First, they go to hell, they suffer, and they do so much reactions for their sinful activity. Then, all right, you want to swim? All right, then Krishna lets them become a fish. All right, so because that desire is there, but they don't get everything they want. because they're doing sinful activities, they also get their reactions. So they don't get everything they want. It's not that desire that you can get everything you want.
I never said everything. I said desire is the cause of the result.
Yeah. So sometimes we get results that we want, sometimes we don't, but quite often the desires they have, they engage in sinful activities and they get reactions.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you quoted this, according to one's previous activities, one's material body is created by the father and mother. And I think what the point here is that it's like if you say, well, how does the car work? And you say, well, you can get someone who's a good mechanic and say, yeah, the driver presses this and the gas goes here and it does this and all that. But this verse and our whole philosophy is, yes, but what's behind that? In other words, behind that is the living entity. Behind that is the Lord that's created all of this, and your mind is also one of the material energies. So it's bringing the ultimate cause back to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, who could argue, according to one's previous fruit, one's material body is created by the father and the mother. So you get a certain father and mother that's going to, give birth to you, then your karma will be fulfilled.
And your analogy, the driver is turning the key.
Yeah.
Because you turn the key, then all the engine and everything goes. So I'm an individual, I have a desire. That's the original catalyst. But what you're saying is, okay, fine, but you're not working in a vacuum. Where'd you get the body? Where'd you get the car? Where'd you get the material nature?
And your intelligence, that's what this verse is about, is taking it back to
So you may have a little speck of desire.
Yeah.
You can't even fulfill that. Krishna's the cause of all causes.
Yeah.
So that's the point you're trying to
That's the point of this. Yeah.
All right. Between the two of you, I'm satisfied.
Okay, yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, what is that verse that you were mentioning that we should always hanker? You stated one verse, but can you give me, I want to learn that, and you tell me that
Would you
verse
remember the
again?
exact...
Talking about that phrase, Lada Tapakari.
Oh, Lada Tapakari.
No, after that you said we should always hanker and for service, and there was a verse which you quoted.
Hanker for service. We'll have to look at we'll have to listen to the tape. Or
I'll ask you again. I'll ask you again.
Well, I wanted you to elaborate on something. I'm not challenging it, but you're saying lamentation leads to purification. And if lamentation leads to detachment, then it becomes purification. But could you, and I'm not doubting the principle, I fully accept it. But you have your example, the guy was lamenting that he didn't have his girlfriend. He was lamenting he'd lost her and he shot himself. So can you elaborate on the principle of lamentation leading to purification? And if it doesn't always lead to purification, what is the cause? Like maybe some lamentation just leads to depression. And what kind of lamentation, what is the impetus or cause for that lamentation to lead to purification? It's a good point. I'm not doubting the point. I'm trying to mine that nice statement of yours.
Okay. It's a statement of Prabhupada. Lamentation means purification. So we're all aspiring servants of Krishna. So we have these material modes of nature which are very difficult to overcome. Daivihesa gunamayi. So we're trying to overcome these material modes of nature, and it's difficult. Krishna says, Daivihesa gunamayi mama maya draya. This divine energy of mind consisting of the three modes of material nature is very difficult to overcome, but one who surrenders unto me can very easily cross beyond it. So surrendering to Krishna, that's a big challenge. It's not easy. So we could lament, I'm trying to surrender to Krishna, but this modes of nature is so hard. But we shouldn't overdo the lamentation. Like one devotee, he looked a little depressed, and Prabhupada looked at him and said, "Is everything okay?" He said, "Prabhupada, I'm experiencing transcendental depression." Prabhupada said, "There's no such thing as transcendental depression." So sometimes we could overdo it. We could lament that I haven't surrendered to Krishna, but at the same time, we should be enthusiastic to continue on in our attempt to become pure devotees. Shouldn't overdo it. Oh, I'm so fallen. I'm so fallen. I'm so fallen. I'm so fallen. I can't even make it, and just leave. Yeah, that happens too. Yeah. So we shouldn't go that route. Otherwise, we'll really lament.
So you're saying lamentation in the context of the devotee's life.
Yeah.
If that lamentation is a cause for us to try harder,
Yeah.
then it's a cause of purification. Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Yeah.
May I make a comment?
Okay. Yes, you may.
Hare Krishna, Prabhupada Maharaj, thank you for your wonderful questions, and Vijay Prabhu for the nice class. With regard to lamentation, I've thought about it often as like the bumps on the road. You know, those bumps that let you know you've crossed the lane. So the lamentation is Krishna's mercy, that you don't just get everything you want, unfettered bliss in the material world, that sometimes you want something, you don't get it. The lamentation is an indication you're wanting the wrong thing. It's like those bumps, get back in your lane. So for those who are sincere, the lamentation is an impetus. That's the preamble. For those that are just bewildered and completely intoxicated by the material modes, then lamentation doesn't have much effect. It's like the drunk driving on the road. He hits the bumps and doesn't register at all.
That's good.
Yeah. Thank you.
I got something else. Oh, but it's not going to do it. Yeah, of course.
She quoted is a perfect example of healthy lamentation. Na prema shavanadi bhakti.
Yes.
But even though that I'm so unqualified, I haven't attained prema, I don't have, this, still, you are the most kind. Hina tarika sadhika, you're the most kind to the most fallen. So
Great
there's
hope.
hope, and therefore
Yeah.
you continually pray.
Lamentation makes this hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm lamenting my condition, but I'm hoping by Krishna's grace.
And you'll find in so many songs, Bhaktivinoda Narottam, that mood is
Yeah.
there. If lamentation just leads to depression, just leads to let me get out of here, then it's not healthy, obviously.
Thank you.
And I was also thinking this, like we meet people sometimes that they've tried everything else and nothing else works. So that lamentation of, I tried this, I tried that, I'm not happy, it's not working. That lamentation can turn them to, well, hang on a minute. Like Prabhupada talks about that. There was some very wealthy man, and, he was sitting his wife at a restaurant. Prabhupada tells the story. And, he had everything you could imagine, big house, big car, travel all over the world, powerful position, this and that. But his wife said, "You look so morose, you're never happy. What's happened? What do you want?" And he saw some sadhu walking by in saffron, and the man said, "I want that."
C.R. Das, that was his name.
C.R. Das, maybe it was C.R. Das, I don't know. But the point is that sometimes all these other definitions are good too. This is another angle that because this material world ultimately leads to failure in every regard. And that lamentation can be, well, forget it. There's got to be something else. That's the purification, that let me look elsewhere. Let me look for something deep and spiritual and true and permanent.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like
that's
this
another
lady.
way that lamentation.
Like this lady from Brazil. She's lamenting, like, I'm not happy. What? And she said, well, let me go to America and maybe something's there. Yeah. And she got the books. She got the books. So maybe, hopefully, she'll get some happiness there. But Prabhupada says about C.R. Das.
You don't come to that point of, not always, but if one comes to that point of being frustrated, and then one gets transcendental knowledge, one has to look up. If you just at this level, you're just going to keep there. But if you get and you start looking, maybe there's some, then you'll see it. If you don't look, you won't see it.
Yeah.
So the lamentation causes you to stop what you're doing and look up, and you'll find purification.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so there's a numbers of this. Yeah, okay.
Okay. Thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki?
I know something else that starts with P.